Hello, and let us continue our discussion on extended ER models. Now, till this video, we have an idea about what are ER models. We discussed about different components and we discussed how to represent all components. In the last videos, we specifically spoke about why ER models are not applicable in all real world scenarios. So we understood about the problems, we understood three limitations in detail. Now, in this video, let us try to understand solution for this problems. Like, let us begin with understanding key features of extended ER model. So before we start with the features, I would like you to have an example of a person, and let us try to understand with this example. So think of a person. A person can have its name, then contact number and address, right? So let's begin with drawing. Like I've drawn here, a person can have name, contacts and address. Now, this person at the same time can be a student or can be an employee. So I can say that this student can have some roll number. I can also say this student can have some grades, CGPA, something. If the student is an employee, then a student can have a salary and can have a job role. So what am I saying is, if a person is having two, like it can either be a student or it can be an employee. So now, if I am storing information in such a way that I am creating an entity as a student and I'm keeping all these four attributes to this one entity, I'm unnecessarily wasting space. Like if the student here, for case of student, it is not an employee, so these two attributes will be empty, and in the case of employees, it is not a student, so these two attribute will be empty. So we are wasting space, and the system is much more complex and not at all interpretable. So what we do here is we try to break down things into sub parts, like sub entities. So how do we do that? Let's begin. Like if I say there is a person as entity, I can divide it into two different entities. Like first one is student and the second one is um, employee. Now I can store like the attributes which are common in both in this person entity and store the relevant attributes for this particular entity and in their own, like their respective own. So I can store name here, then I can have address. But now roll number and grade are something which are specifically related to student. So I'll have a roll number and grade for the student specifically. So, and for employee, I can have salary and role, job role. So what happens is now that the system is much more interpretable, now you're clearly able to understand that there is something known as person and there is something known as student, and then we're having something known as employee, and then all these respective attributes are there. Here we're not even wasting space, and we're making it much more like clear. It is not messy, because the last example where we were just keeping all the attributes in that one particular parent entity, the system was looking very messy, right? So this is how we use to break down complex entities into simple parts. So to now I have to link all these three entities. So I use a is a relationship. So what do? I just this is represented by a triangle, and we just write is a, so a person is a student and it is an employee. So this is how we represent it. So yeah, that's it. And the idea that we are breaking up a larger entity and simplifying the system, we call it as specialization. And let's understand how technically we define this term. So specialization is dividing a general entity into sub entities with specific attributes. So, like, remember in the case of person, we divided into sub entities like student and employee, and then we associated the and then we kept the specific attributes for the specific sub entities. We didn't use the common way and just kept all the attributes for the general entity. So it helps to avoid redundancy and improve efficiency. Now that we have divided the system into sub entities, the system is much more readable, much more interpretable, and we able to have a less redundant like system. So what are the benefits? Let's just discuss about the benefits of specialization. So I think no unused attributes or null values are there. Since we are dividing the specific attributes to their own respective sub-entities, there is no null attributes or no unused attributes. So we are saving a lot of space. Like, this is much more space optimized version. Then it is more structured and readable data. We can easily see like these two examples. This one looks kind of messy, and this one is better, right? So yeah, then it enables for database optimization. Since we're saving a lot of space, this is a practice used for database optimization. So now that we have an idea about specialization, let us take few more examples so that we get clear into it. So let us begin with, we have discussed this before, like a student can be a UG student, can be a PhD student, and can be a postgraduate, right? So what we can do is, we can have student as a general entity. So for student, we can have a name, student name, uh, roll number, and ID, because all of them have these things in common. Now, specifically saying, for a undergraduate student, for a UG student, uh, they can have some courses. Then for postgraduate student, they can have some projects or something like that. For PhD students, they have their thesis, right? This is some thesis name, supervisor, and all these things. So I can say that I can have a easier relationship. Student is a UG student, PG student, or a PhD student. So this is how you represent student as three sub entities, and you try to divide. Note that we have divided this specific attributes to that particular sub entity. Now we are not wasting our space, and we are making the system much more redundant. So this is done, right? I hope we are clear with this example, and let us try to have more examples so that we have a good command on this concept. So let us have an example of engineers and all branches. Now, engineer can be a electrical engineer, can be a computer science engineer, can be a civil engineer. So we can say that we can have our general entity as engineer, and we can say that engineer is a, now it can be a CSE engineer, civil engineer. So this is how we divided our general entity of engineer into different branches. Now we can keep all the specific branches, like all the, we can have different subjects in all the and specific entities, and then we can grade it according to that particular branch. So, and we can have the common attributes such as name and roll number or university name, something like that, in this particular general entity. So let us have one more example, that can you imagine a vehicle? A vehicle is something which can move, and we can then again, depending upon its size or some features, we can have a vehicle as a car, or a vehicle can be SUV, or it can be a bus. So to represent this, we'll again have a general entity known as vehicle. Now we have again our is a relationship. So what we can have is, we can have vehicle as bus. So this is how we divided our general entity into different sub entities. I think we're clear with this concept, and let us summarize what we learned about specialization, and then we'll be moving ahead. So, specialization is a top down approach. Now, what do I mean by top down? What we have done first is we understood about the general entity. Let's take the example of this person. What we did is we understood about the person entity, and then we tried to split this into different parts. So, we are going from top and we are trying to split it. Now, we can again split it like an employee. We can say that is a manager, or we can say house help or something like that. So we again splitted this. So what we are doing is we are going from a basic general entity, and we're then splitting it again. We're going to that sub entity. We can again go and split it. So this is what we are doing. So that's why we call specialization as a top down approach. So specialization improves data organization and removes redundancy. We have discussed that, how it does, how it organizes data, and how we are storing spaces, how we are efficiently using the spaces. And again, we can say used when entity has distinct subtypes with unique attributes. Now, if an entity, general entity, can have two or more distinct subtypes, we use this specialization. So I think we're clear with the concept of specialization. Let us move ahead and discuss about a few more features in the upcoming videos. For now, I would like you to think of again few more examples and try to break those general entities into few different sub entities, and so that you have a command on the specific topic.